What is up, everyone? Good morning. It's your host, Carlos Ponce here. And this is episode 15 of season 2 of Advancio Talks. We are live, and today we have a special guest, Troy Hipolito. I'm gonna let him introduce himself in a minute. So thank you, Troy, for being with us on the show. And if you're just discovering us, if you're discovering Advancio Talks, well, welcome. If you've been here before since the beginning, well, you know what we're about. So here's a quick rundown. Advancio Talks is where we sit down with the people actually building the future of business and technology. Not just talking about it, doing it. You know, CTOs, founders, tech entrepreneurs, the folks making decisions that matter. So whether you're drinking coffee, commuting, or just curious about what's actually happening here, so stick around. Troy has got some stories and insights that you won't find anywhere else. Hey, Troy, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm excited. Hopefully I can contribute some information that's valuable to others.
Absolutely, you always do. You know, I can attest to that. I've known you for a while, and I can definitely attest to that. I'm excited to hear what you have to say today. I mean, we do have a theme, we do have a topic, which I will introduce in a minute. But before we start, Troy, if you don't mind, tell us and the audience a little bit about you. Who's Troy Hipolito, and what's your background, your story? What do you want to share with us today? Let's start.
Oh, my goodness. Nowadays, I'm known as the not so boring LinkedIn guy. And you're probably wondering, what does that got to do with software? You know, it's a big connection. So I own an agency called the Troy Agency, and I have a software called Skoop, and we're about to separate that into its own company. But before, as far as a background, I was in the United States Army. I did a lot of reserve time with that. I was married, I had kids. I was a developer, an architect, software architect, a draftsman, you name it. So I've had a lot of different like technical type jobs. And I started my main career, besides the drafting and all that. When I started a business, I created a company for gamification. And so I used to live in Atlanta. Now I just recently moved to Las Vegas. But back then, we used to get calls from the local agencies in Atlanta or people in Chicago and New York just to pick up projects. And we didn't have to do any marketing or any hunting, because we were well known to gamify some of the things, whether they have a particular project or an application or site. And it went really well for a while. We loved it, but it all crashed real quickly. And the reason being is that Atlanta is a big tax haven for these larger entertainment type companies. And they tended, at the time, they were cannibalizing these agencies and bringing them inside. That way, they didn't have to pay the agencies, they had more control. And there was a lot of corporate vibe in there. So they didn't want things to go all willy-nilly. And so those same agencies that I got work from, they end up being our competitors. So instead of giving me this work, they blocked us from work. And we didn't know what to do. I asked a couple of colleagues, they said, use LinkedIn. And I said, what, that resume place? And I didn't know I was like, what do you mean use LinkedIn? You know? And unfortunately, I was very talented. I didn't have much of a personality, a type A trait, because I'm a doer. I didn't have to network or anything like that at the time, because I had all these awards and stuff. But I learned real quick that I had to learn how to date, like in old-fashioned dating in real life. When you have an old-fashioned dating, you're there just to get to know the person. You don't have any ulterior motives or anything like that. You're just there to listen, to see if this is a good person that you want to engage with in the future. And so we're really good at systems. So we applied the systems with the old-fashioned dating techniques for businesses. So you have to date businesses. and they won't work with you unless they get to know you, they get to like you, and they get to trust you. So we ended up creating multi-channel systems, had a couple of different models. Our latest model is to create multi-channel systems, drop one price. So if they are an entrepreneur or B2B or service-based provider, the system would work really well because it builds their brand, it builds their trust, and it provides value on multiple channels. So that's kind of our main, revenue source right now. But we saw some issues, and the issues were people were spamming, and that's a huge problem because LinkedIn is not a selling network; it's a networking network. So LinkedIn is really for business networking. You can't sell directly, your $10,000 or $100,000 offers directly because they don't know you and they don't like being approached in that way. They want to give their money to people that they know and trust, and it's something they actually need. And so there's a huge disconnect. And we saw on LinkedIn has over 1 billion people. And there's only 2 spots where majority of the people make their money. And so 80% of them are smaller businesses or B2B type individuals. And with 1 billion people, that's a huge audience. And but you have to capture that audience. So the 2 areas is your content creation or the content in the post, because even if you have a newsletter, it's on the post. Even if we're having a LinkedIn Live and a podcast combo, the LinkedIn Live portion is actually on the post area because it posts that information. And the others are the DMs or the messaging, the direct messaging area. And so we looked at the direct messaging area and said, man, this is awful. There's so much more room to improve on this. And what people need to do is they need to hyper personalize. They need to talk to that individual. And I know everyone is using some kind of system or automation, but you can balance that. So the most important message that you send to someone is the first message. And you have to time it right. You have to develop it right. And we found a certain formula. And that formula was a few lines of text, a short video, and title the video. And that became our Skoop application. We converted 3% to 21% conversion rate on a single message to a vetted book meeting. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So we went from building systems to building our own software and then using our software within our system. So pretty exciting. It's kind of nerd stuff anyway. But think about 21%. If you have a $10,000 offer, $20,000, whatever your offer is, and you need to get 1 extra client a month, just say that's, so if you're starting out, say you're already making 10 grand, what would it look like, or how can you envision making double that? How would that impact your business? How would it impact in your life? Of course, it goes, you can scale that as well. But if they can convert 1 additional client a month at whatever that rate is, it makes your life a lot easier. And how long does it take to do this message? It takes about 2.5 minutes. So if you get an average of 5 to 10 people connect with you a day, just use 10 because it's an even number. That means you get an extra 2 booked meetings that are pre-vetted. And you have an opportunity to, to build a relationship and to close that deal in a faster capacity. So if you can shortcut that relationship process, it will help you a great deal with your business. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
No, that's fine. That's perfect, because there's actually kind of a good segue into the actual theme, the topic of the day, which is what we labeled as 6x or 6 times meeting magic.
Yeah,
We're talking about building the ultimate sales conversion Chrome extension, right? So
yeah, it's a kind of we were figuring out what kind of software do we want,
right?
And we came up with a Chrome extension because majority of people use Chrome, and we wanted a tool that sat right in front of them, so they could use it as they were on LinkedIn or any other platform. It's for multiple platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, Reddit, that sort of thing. But we were thinking this shouldn't be a separate thing. It should be a tool as they're using LinkedIn. So it should be part of the experience. And that way they can engage with one person and move on to the next. So that a lot of times when we have a tool that's separated, you really can't interact with the actual platform. And so most people deal with the platform. And by building it that way, it kind of made sense and allowed us to have a robust back end and a simple front end.
Troy, I'm curious about something very specific that's regarding the technical aspect of a Chrome extension of this nature. So what do you need when it comes to building this particular product, Skoop? What did you have to prioritize when building the integrations, the CRM components, everything that links Skoop to other platforms? What do you have to prioritize, and what do you have to leave before?
Yeah, so we have updates at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. But when we were originally developing it, we wanted to solve a problem. So if I went from 3% conversion rate to 21%, that's a 6x conversion right there. And they're pre-vetting. The way it's set up is the other person vets themselves and they end up booking with you. And so that's the idea that you want. You want them to want to book versus you asking them to, or selling them something. So the main problem was, how do I get a higher response rate and higher conversion rate and build genuine relationships at the same time? So that was the priority. We had software prior that was internal that we built, so we knew that video converts better. But we realized if you did 2 or 3 lines of text, because people don't read like they used to, most people. So 90-10 conversion rate, 90-10, 10% love reading, 90% skip, right? And so if you send me a long novel of words with bullet points on a DM is like a text. I won't read it. I just will reply. I don't read novels, because who has the time to do that? Most people will scan through something. And so the formula of 2 to 3 lines of text, a short 30-second video, and titling the video with their name on it is what we call the sandwich method. That method works really well because the first 3 lines is what we call context. It's not content, it's context. What is this about? The video is the actual content. And then the title underneath it with the name of the person and saying, thank you for connecting or whatever it is also context. So people are constantly making micro decisions. Micro decision number 1, do they want to connect with you? And for all the decision making to connect with you. Once they connect with you, if you send this, you're not really selling anything. You're spending time to get to know that individual. They appreciate that. And so when they see the 2 or 3 lines of text, they get another micro decision like, oh, okay, I did connect with him. Oh, yeah, he sent me, this is about this. Oh, he created a video for me specifically. It's not an AI thing. It's a real thing. And it's and so it allows them to have a higher probability of wanting that relationship with you. Of course, you have to have all your ducks in a row, but that's the general idea. And so that was the main focus on it. And when we developed it, we knew exactly what we're going to do because we're our internal client. So instead of spending, weeks on an SOW, we already had prototypes, internal prototypes already created. I literally created the SOW for the development of that application in 3 hours. Literally, I did type it all up, mistakes and words and all, and I drew a picture on a piece of paper, took a picture, put it on Google Docs, and I said, guys, this is what we're doing, So I really kind of dictated most of the process. It didn't have things like the AI for content creation or the CRM in it at the time. So it wasn't the priority. The priority is, how do I build a relationship faster? And so we got that part of it done first.
So would you say that this would be a good example of what I would probably call AI for good, in which you're using technical tools to build genuine relationships with human beings?
Yeah, you can use all your power for good or evil. I mean, but the thing is, the people that are spamming, they're typically lazy, so they won't use this kind of tool. You have an added advantage of you standing out. It's like, for example, if you were a model and you're a brunette, and they're all blondes, you want to be the brunette. You want to stand out because they get so many messages. You need to have a unique factor, and the unique factor is I put effort into it. So when you do a 30-second or 1-minute video, you're actually looking at their profile and saying, "Hey, Carlos, it's great to connect with you. I see that you do this, this, and this. I do this. Not sure if I can help you, but I just want to say thank you for connecting." And my only CTA is, I said, you know what? I have a great I have a great network. I do. I maxed out my number of connections. And so people a lot of times want me just for my network. So I use that as a little ploy. And I say, I do have a really good network. If you have a chance, take a look at my profile and you see any dots to connect, feel free to send me your booking link and I will schedule some time on your link. So I don't even give them although there is a link next to the video for booking, because not everyone has a booking link. I ask them for theirs if they see anything worth talking about. So the ask is equal to the current relationship. And to recap, the current relationship is we just connected. He sent me a message. He took time to put a video on. Oh, he really knows about me because he spent some time on my profile. His ask is to look at the profile. Well, I did connect with him and I connected with him for a particular reason. I will take a look at that. And I have a stellar profile. And if they see anything worth talking about, they'll send me their booking link or they'll just schedule some time with me. And so that formula is a low friction. And it's a way to get them inside of your ecosystem. And then you apply something called, and it has nothing to do with the Skoop application, but it has to do with our systems. You want to always apply a 3-tier value structure. So let me explain. I'm sorry. 3 tiers. Tier 1 is free. So this podcast is free to the audience. It's providing value, insight, entertainment, yada, yada, right? All content is free. Sometimes a meet and greet is free, right? And all those have a potential value. A lot of times when people will book a 20-minute meeting with me, they have a particular issue. And they'll just tell me. And I say, oh, yeah, I see what you're doing. You need to do this, or you need a daily process, or you need to, whatever the case, or I can't solve that problem. I'll introduce you to someone that could solve that, or they're looking for whatever it is, right? Those tier 1 is free. Tier 2 is low cost. For me, it's Skoop. Skoop is $47 a month. How much is a deal worth? Like a high value deal. I don't know. It could be $1,000 a month. It could be, $20,000 a month. It could be a $1 million project, So if they give me a single dollar, put it this way, if they give me $1, they like me a lot more than giving me no dollars, right? If they never give me any money, they're not going to pay any attention. So people pay to pay attention. And so that those few dollars that they give me brings them inside my ecosystem. Now they want to learn how to use Skoop. I got free meetings for that. How can I convert? And then they say, wow, that's pretty good. But now I need multi-channel systems because I need to drive some real business. I need help with VAs. I need closers and that sort of thing. And so that relationship grows based on their need. So again, the 3rd tier value is actually your high value offer. For me, we have a 90-day client acquisition Plus program. We call it the Plus program. And I don't want to get into that too much, but it converts really well for the right client. Now, that client doesn't care about building relationships and they just want to sell. You're going to have a hard time no matter what you do. Right. And so the people that are being successful actually believe in what they do, and it will help that individual, that company. They truly believe that, and they're willing to build up a relationship. And so I think that is the key thing to success. Whether it's my system or someone else's system, if you bring a horse, to water and they don't drink, for example, if you set up a system where they have really good potential relationships and they don't make the meeting, they can never close the deal, right? And so you have to work with the right people. And that's another thing that people forget. They think, logically I have this thing and they need this thing to make more money, but they're not talking to me. Well, it's probably because they don't know you and they don't like you. It's right. 80% of the decision making is really if they like you. All this other stuff is just a checkoff list. Right. Kind of crazy, right? You would think logically, if I had something, whatever that something is, that would make you money. Say, for example, I had a red button on the wall, and I said at 8 a.m., if you click that button, you'll get meetings, right? And a lot of people aren't the right people because it's like, well, I don't know. It's not the right shade of red, that button. Or I don't know if I can push the button hard. And they just give all sorts of excuses. You have to be in the right frame of mind to actually close those deals. Right. Anyway, I went off on a tangent, but you get the idea.
No, of course. Of course I do. And that kind of leads... I became curious about something. I think that when we initially had our first conversations before the show and earlier on, I said that I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination. Even though that I understand the industry of creating a product and building it and putting it out there and adoption and all those things. But I'm not an engineer. I don't have an engineering background. So because of that, I'm curious to ask you a little bit about. And you are someone who has an engineering background or a development background. You have technical experience, etc. So because of this, you even have gamification experience. So my question to you is this: as an engineer, as a developer, as a creator of a technical product, how important is it to understand user psychology and not just the technical implementation in order for a product to be successful?
Yeah, so the first thing is that there has to be a problem that you solve. You have to figure out something to lower their pain. So people will pay money to remove pain. Whether the pain is taking too much time, the pain is not getting conversion, the pain is not building a relationship and that sort of thing. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is that you have to know that your product is not for everyone. If you take everyone's opinion in, you'll never get anything done. But there is a user flow. So is there a lot of people that want to do nothing? They'll have AI do everything for them or automation do everything. A lot of people are like that. Well, my product is not made for that alone. Although it works with systems, it works with AI, other AI automated systems, but it's a manual thing. It's a human thing to do. And if someone says, I would never communicate anyone in that intimate capacity. So creating a video, you're putting yourself out there, and you do want to see the mistakes. A lot of people are so tightened up, they don't want to show anything to the public. And so for those, I had to know that this is not the product for them. If they want to build relationships and they want to drive more business, this is what to do. Other people were saying, I just want to go and coach. That's the only, well, you can use your VA or your assistants to run the product, and it really depends on the structure that you're doing. And so I had to, on the psychology end, I had to really understand that whatever you do, you're not for everyone, but you have to run the conversions. You have to see what works. You have to see what the feedback is, and use that, and then take some of it with a grain of salt. So that's one thing that I learned as far as the psychology of it. The other thing, which is a little bitter pill to swallow, there's two things, is that whenever you develop something new, people say video is not new, but my tool is new. It's new because it has multiple functions. It sits right on your browser. It does video right there. It's designed to have a certain flow. It stores text. It can do a lot of stuff. People aren't always used to having an application right there, and they don't get it. They don't get the concept. Some people don't get the concept of why I don't want to do a video. I just write a whole long paragraph. And again, you have to know that, okay, it's not a tool for everyone. And so you have to design it for your tribe. Those people who want to engage and build a relationship and put their hands in the cookie jar, so to speak, those are the individuals that will excel with this. And that's just like any other software. The other bitter pill to swallow is that Carlos, I'm a very smart person. But I've learned things from you about podcasts, on our last meetings and stuff like that. And I also learn a lot of stuff all the time. That's the great thing about life, right? No matter how good you are in a certain field, you always learn new stuff. Well, unfortunately, I learned how hard it was to sell a low cost product. So my product is $47. Sometimes I'll give a lot of discounts out. And I just launched, and I only have about 500 users on it so far. And I get it all from my LinkedIn profile. But the difficulty to get volume without a budget is hard. So we built this whole software on no budget. And that's very unusual. I moved from Atlanta to Las Vegas to lower my expenses. I'll just put it out there. I'm being vulnerable. I did not have an extra $150,000, $200,000 to build this out. And I wanted to build it. I know there's a certain time frame where this thing will be useful. So it's not really about the time frame of it being useful. It's more about the time frame of the ability to capture a market. If you can't capture that market, you're not going to produce money. And so I took a dip, and I spent 6 to 8 months developing this, and I hardly took in any work. And so a lot of my extra client work, and I usually would bring in, I wouldn't. And I concentrated myself and my team, which is a great group of guys. We just knocked it out. And when we knocked it out, we thought, and we were wrong on this, and there's no way we would have known. We thought we would make a lot of money because before we developed it, we vetted the product. And we had 3 particular companies we vetted it with. And then there were like CRM type systems that are very large, right? Some were large and some were small. But we had three they all wanted the software. So we don't have this functionality, and we want this functionality. And so company number 1, which would have been the golden child, they were a very well-known platform, but they had another vendor that was blocking us, and they want us in their space, and it's a legal issue, so we can't work with them. We understand that happens all the time. The second client was a white label of another CRM type system, and they did very well. And they said, I love this idea that you, and then I know that you said you're develop it and we want to integrate it. We would like to open up your source code. And can you imagine, for people that don't understand what that means we want to rip you off. We want to take your code. That's what that means, right? And so the third company, which still made a great amount of money, they said, I want to integrate it in my system as well, but I don't want to pay you anything. And so that was very difficult because I spent 6 to 8 months well, it's really closer to 8 months, getting this out, surviving in a very low, this like sweat equity, no budget, no money coming in other than like my regular stuff, barely paying bills to get it out. Right. I'm bootstrapping for real. And then we had 10 other contracts for a bunch of people who wanted to help us, and no one was so we found out dealing with that kind of market was like dealing with the creepy used car salesman. And sorry if you're a car salesman, guys, but the idea of dealing with the car salesman, they're just gonna promise the world and never deliver. And we actually had one great distributor, and unfortunately, when he was about to distribute, he passed away. Unfortunately, he was a really great guy. He taught us a lot of stuff in it. And so now I said, you know what? Just use my LinkedIn profile and we'll go out there. Now, I got a lot of clients on it, but it's a little hand-to-hand combat. So the trick is that we have to identify how to get volume licenses. So that's affiliates, that's resellers, and a reseller is someone who buys multiple licenses at a lower cost so they can resell it. That's distributors, that's enterprise licensing. And so we have a goal of about 5,000, it's a very modest goal, 5,000 concurrent paying users. And that equals to, X amount of dollars that will self-perpetuate, anything that's happening. And so that's the reality of developing a software on a budget. You got to love it. You got to believe it. You got to breathe it. And you have to deal with all the little bumps in the roads that happen along with this adventure. Matter of fact, I have a whole series of videos on my LinkedIn that talk about my SaaS, SaaS, software as a service, my SaaS adventure. And so I tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly. So,
I can ask you a million other questions, but unfortunately, we're running out of time. They say that the time flies when you're having a good time, which I am, and I'm keen to learn more about everything that Skoop does. But in the meantime, as we wrap up, what are your final words of wisdom for the audience? Like looking ahead, how do you see the scenario of these types of tools changing, especially for companies building like AI integrated tools like Skoop?
Yeah, I would say just because you build it, they won't come. So you have to have a plan. You have to have the veracity to generate that business. The other thing is that if you have a tool, make sure that people actually need it. Make sure it solves a problem, And the third is you have to love it and you have to breathe it, because you're going to run like any entrepreneur, you're going to run into rough times where you thought something was a sure thing, and you're going to have highs and lows, and you have to get past that. You have to believe, you have to have that vision to drive forward, because you could have the best software in the world, and unless the right people see it, it's not going to take off as fast as you want. But I'll tell you this, with zero budget and having 500 users, I far surpassed a lot of startups that try to get something. And so that is a really good indicator with not having any volume licensing and just to get my foot in the door. So I don't see a problem for this growing, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But I'm sure you have had your share of fun doing it, right?
Oh yeah. Well, if you build something other people have never built before, in that way. In my gamification, we used to love building virtual worlds. Multi-channel virtual, multi-channel virtual worlds. It was really fun because doing gamification gave you an opportunity to build something unique, something that other people couldn't do. And so whatever you do, you have to really be passionate about it and love it.
Indeed, that's the secret sauce: the passion plus the focus and the confidence that you're building something of value and something that in a way represents you as a human being. It's like you're putting out there some real value into the world, which is always highly appreciated.
It's almost like putting out your legacy in a certain sense. You know, it's like when you have kids, that's the only way to really extend your mortality, right? Well, no, we build software too.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, build a legacy out there, and you're actually solving problems. So you're not just a cog in the wheel. You're actually someone that's making a difference in someone's life.
You're my kind of people, Troy. Thank you. So, Troy, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the show. In case the viewers want to get a hold of you now or in the future, how can they do so?
Yeah, just connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want to grab some time, right on my LinkedIn profile, there is book a meeting, grab 20 minutes. Oh yeah, it's right there. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's me. There's another Troy Hipolito, but believe it or not, that's my brother.
Wow.
And he's full Filipino. I'm half. So I'm my mother's from Switzerland and my father's Filipino. So in my younger days, when I had the gaming company, my pickup line at the bars used to be the #1 Swissappino Game Designer.
Swissappino.
Yeah, it was true. Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I do recall you mentioning that. So thank you for sharing that little piece of you that makes you unique. And what about your company website? I believe it's thetroyagency.com. It's right there.
Yes. Yeah, it's right there as well. Yeah, appreciate that. You can check that out. There's a booking link there. We have a portfolio of projects. You know, and if you are a consultant and trying to grow in the LinkedIn spot, you know, reach out to me and I'll just be honest. I'll say, oh yes, this is a good market. And if you do these things in this direction, you'll be able to make it. But again, I think if anyone caught anything in this program today, is that you have to build a relationship and you have to provide value. And value is not what's valuable to you, it's what's valuable to them. I think people get mixed up, you know. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what I think, it just matters what they think, because they are the relationship and they are the buyers.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, Troy, it's been a great pleasure. Please, Troy, stay with me as we go off the air while I make a quick announcement. Folks, if you're watching next week, I just want to make a quick announcement of what's coming next week right here on the Advancio Talks. We're going to be having a great conversation with Jason Crawford. He's the CEO and founder of a company called Swear. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to give you a spoiler, but you be on the lookout for all of our social media channels and our website. And the topic is going to be, that's kind of intriguing because it's Truth in Tech, creating counterfeit-proof digital assets with Web3. So that's kind of for some folks like me, you know, this is a little bit in the esoteric side, but nonetheless, it's interesting because it has to do with counterfeit-proof digital assets. Who isn't interested in that? I am, at least. So that's what we have right here on the Advancio Talks next week at 11 o'clock Wednesday in Mountain Standard Time. So make sure you bookmark it. And again, Troy, thank you so much for having me with us on the show. And see you next time right here on Advancio Talks. Thank you.